Hello. Good evening. Welcome to another live episode on a Wednesday night of the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan Fulford, Kelvin Rozier here. Kelvin, we seem to be missing Eddie Kane Jr. Anybody check backstage on him?
We seem to be missing him quite a bit lately, and I think he called in. He had that call. I might come in, so
We sure? Are we sure?
We may see him, we may not.
Are we sure he's not in the transfer portal with everybody else that seems to be jumping in?
That's a good question, man. Hey, he might not like the team he with.
Well, that'd be, man, I feel some kind of way, but hey, like all coaches are having to realize, I'm not gonna take it personal.
That's right.
Gonna take it personal,
Absolutely, man.
Man, all right. Well, damn. Okay.
We just kidding, Marcus.
Right.
Just having fun with
you. Marcus Green will hopefully be joining us a little bit later in the show. Just getting the last little announcements here posted, sending it out via social media. So we say hello to everybody who's watching us on Facebook and YouTube, and on Instagram Live and on X, whether it be via the Black College Sports Network or the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, or our own ONG Strike Zone Twitter handle, Facebook, or YouTube page. We salute and say hello to all the family joining us. Do us all a favor, however, and wherever you're watching us. Yeah, first off, hit the thumbs up and the like button. That's first and foremost. Get that out the way. And then go ahead and share the show. Make sure you share the show on your streams when you can. Maybe you're going to share it during the break. That's all good as well. Well, on today's show, normally Kelvin and I, we're pretty good about getting guests lined up and things like that. But, I'm going to say I've been slacking on getting guests. We tried. We thought we would be able to get a big guest. We see what it was. I'm going to put it on this, Kelvin. We tried to keep the docket clear because we thought we'd be able to get a real big guest on today, and then it didn't happen, and so it kind of left us with no guest. So that's what we're going to chalk it up to. But we are working on getting our big guest, and so I'm not going to say it, not going to spoil it, and we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed that our big name guest comes on the show. But what it means, though, Kelvin, with just you and me and no Marcus, we might be able to open it up to the people. All the people who are watching us and you're in the chat rooms, we might just open it up and give you a chance to join the show for a couple of minutes and share your thoughts on whatever's hot topic. Ask us questions. Whatever. So I don't know.
Hey,
maybe.
And the other good part, Bryan, is you can run your mouth. You ain't got to worry about me.
Marcus. You or Marcus?
Marcus, yeah, right.
Subtle hints.
Hey, man, go ahead and do your thing, bro.
Why you put that on me? No, it's not. Don't even do that.
People watch the show. They know.
How was spring break for you? How was spring break? I know what was your daughter's spring break in Tallahassee? They already had it, or was it a week ahead of mine?
It was a week ahead. Yeah, it was a week ahead of yours. But for me, I went to work, so it was like a regular week.
Work week.
The weekend, you went and saw some movies and it was a lot of play dates for her, but yeah, gotcha. It was just a regular week for me.
Gotcha. Well, I took a family road trip, something that I haven't done in probably 30 years with my family, dad, sister. Got to Atlanta and just got in the car and drove. We drove all the way up to DC. Did some sightseeing. Visited some family up there, then visited some more family up in Philadelphia. Now, what I'm about to say might be blasphemous, right? Because obviously you go to Philly. What's one of the main meals or things that you look to eat in Philly, right?
Philly cheesesteak.
Right. Okay. Now, first off, when you're in Philly, you can't call it a Philly cheesesteak because you're in Philly, so it's just a cheesesteak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So got caught on that. But I don't know, man. I didn't go to the world famous places, that most people might associate. I went to a local cheesesteak spot that, my sister and aunt and cousin, they love. But, I was kind of like, I felt like, what's the shops down here in Florida? Like the cheesesteak place?
Philly steak, Philly connection, and
yeah, I didn't better than that. I don't know. Maybe it was just where I went. I'm not gonna put that place on blast, but I just was kind of like, man, I don't know.
Just, Bryan, I have to kind of agree with you. I actually went to all the name spots also, and while you get a lot of meat and a lot of cheese whiz and all that stuff, I gotta agree with you. For me, it didn't live up to the billing. Let's put it that way. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't
right.
Signature, right?
I remember it being better back in the day. I don't know. JT says, Pat's and G, I didn't go there. I didn't go there. I think it's Geno's, but they're right across the street. I didn't go there.
Yeah, I went to both of them, and yeah, nothing.
Yeah,
I went there. I went Campos too.
See, I haven't been to Campos. Never been to Campos. I didn't know where that was, but we did go to the yes. Now, see, Tony knows.
Yeah,
we did go. Now that's good.
Yes, that was Signature.
That was Signature. I did enjoy going there. We went there for lunch.
Yeah,
and that was good. I enjoyed going there. That was pretty good. Hit up a couple of spots. I had a really great corned beef and pastrami. A Reuben. Thank you. I can't think of the name. I had a Reuben. Oh man, that was so good. So good. I did not the cookies. I don't know what cookie spot you're talking about, Tony, but I didn't get there.
I do.
You does? Yeah.
I'm with him.
Franklin's ice cream. See, I didn't know where that was. I wish I would have told my sister. See, but anyway. And then I went from Philly, then we drove down to Chesapeake. And, I was in Norfolk State country right around the time of the tournament. So, I got family who, of course, my dad's a graduate of Norfolk State. We got family, friends, Norfolk State people. It's kind of interesting getting the vibe. And this is right around the time that they were, the coach, the women's basketball coach. So it was kind of interesting talking to local people about what's going on. And, of course, they're buzzing about that guy, Mike Vick, who's taking over the program there. So
understandable. They should be excited.
Yeah, interesting. Good conversation. So after all that said, I got back to Atlanta, man, and just caught up with me yesterday. Man. The lack of sleep, it just hit me because the last 2 days I had to come back and enter grades in the system. So man, it was just a lot. So all right, but enough about my spring break and all that stuff. Let's get into some of the hot topics here in a second. But let's do what we always do, Kelvin, early on in the show, and let's hit the roll call up. Say hello to the family that's joining us.
Roll call.
Exactly. First one coming in as always. Most times, 9 times out of 10, Jimmy Mack.
What's up, J-Man?
Good to see you, Jimmy. Thanks for checking in, Meredith.
What's up, Meredith?
Good to see you. Thank you to you and Jimmy for being JBN subscribers. Ashton Harris checking in. Good to see you.
What's up, mailman?
Good to see you. Ashton Bull checking in.
What's
A couple
up,
people beat you tonight, Bull. I know Bull is usually one of the first ones to jump in the chat. A couple people beat you tonight. Melissa Wilson. Always good to see Melissa, Alice Rozier, Ken.
What's
checking
up,
in as well.
Ken folk?
EA checking in. Good to see you, EA. Little baby coming in.
What's up, big little baby?
Little baby. Marcus, another JBN subscriber.
Hey,
Appreciate
Marcus.
you. Middle Georgia. Of course, Tony, another one of those.
The
high checking in. Baseball. Who did baseball have today?
They had Troy.
Man.
Jumped out 7-0. And then, of course, it's a midweek series. So coach ain't gonna play none of his pitch none of his pitchers who gonna pitch during the weekend. So we just have to try to hold on in the middle of the week.
what was the Tony said we need some closers. Yeah, man, I tell you.
It ain't that. I'm just the philosophy and then just with the recruiting budget we have and stuff, we just ain't got that kind of depth playing, top programs. Troy's is a very competitive program. So during midweeks, that's kind of, if you look at our history, that's kind of where it is until we get to the end of the year.
Yep. We'll talk about the baseball weekend and the team catching some nice accolades very early in the conference season after two series.
Mm-hmm.
After two series, remember this
only one conference loss thus far.
Only one conference loss, exactly. So we'll talk about that. Hey, Mary 305.
Hey, Auntie.
Good to see you, Mary. Thank you for checking in, being a JBN subscriber as well. Jay Salah checking in.
What's up, Jay?
See you. Tamara T.
Tamara T. How you doing, good lady?
JBN subscriber. Appreciate you. Mr. Campbell. Steve
Campbell.
Hey, Mr. Campbell. In. Good to see you. Gail, another JBN subscriber, checking in.
What's up, Gail?
All right. Tom checking in. Tom.
What's up, Tom?
JT, again, appreciate you, JT. Tim Young checking in.
What's up, Tim?
What's all this about? Come on now, Jay. What about Tim? We weren't that late jumping in, were we? Or maybe he's the one that's on that time. I don't know.
We're talking about Marcus, I think.
Adrian Crook, good to see you. Thanks for
What's up,
checking in. Yeah. Good to see you. Let me see. Anybody I'm missing? Sweet. Good to see you, Sweet. Thanks for being a JBN subscriber. B Starks.
What's up, B Starks?
Got Hollow in the building.
Hello, Hollow.
Got Larry Sargent checking in. Good to see you, Larry.
What's up, Larry?
What? I don't know what you're talking about, Adrian. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, Kerry Daniels.
Maybe. I'm gonna call him DMX.
Can I say real quick while we're talking about polls, the whole umpire thing is so overblown, man. Really?
I mean, it's slow news day.
Talk about a slow news week. We got to bring up all because of a video.
Well, I mean, bring it up. Spring break. He went and did an SEC game, which he's been doing since 2009 or so.
Folks act like the man left practice, then went on and put some umpire uniforms on. Like he's moonlighting, coach by day, softball umpire at night. Come on, man. Y'all leave it alone. Y'all just looking for anything. Demetra, good to see you, Demetra. Thanks for checking in.
What's up, buddy?
Edwin Moore, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
What's going on, Ed?
Iria checking in.
Hey, Iria.
Appreciate all the updates. Big softball alumni weekend coming up this weekend in Tally. Iria, you got to let us know. Are you in town? Are you playing in that alumni softball?
Yeah, I'm gonna see who's gonna have the big gay on.
Right, get the icy hot. I hope we got the training staff available for this weekend. Yeah, that's right, Karen. We might have open phone lines or open streaming lines. Yeah, exactly. So we might get that in. Sam Gilbert, good to see you, Sam. Thanks for checking in.
No, thank you, no, Benny.
Kylan Chavis, I see you in there. I appreciate you for checking in. Going through, seeing if there's anybody I might have missed. Any little things that, because obviously I got to do a catch up here.
You got my man Chuck. You can't.
Chuck? Did I skip over Chuck? Yeah. Chuck. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Chuck Hunt checking in from Monroe, Louisiana. Good to see you, Chuck, man. Thanks for being a part of the show. Always in the chats, always checking in with the BCSN shows. Appreciate you.
Charles Bishop. What's up?
See, is he in there? Chuck's in there. Mr.
Charles,
Bishop's in the building.
What's going on, brother?
All right. Good stuff. Keep checking in. All right. Oh, doing a dual show watching, a little streaming action. Got the NAA bylaws meeting going on and watching us. Appreciate that, Keith. Let us know if there's anything good that comes up in that NAA meeting that we need to be.
Yeah, we got the NAA president voting going on. Start April 1st.
I know. I like Keith. I like what Keith did in having the candidates on the other day. I thought that was a genius move. Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah,
get those guys out there and engaging with people. Good stuff. Mm-hmm. Road Dog. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for checking in. Good to see you.
What's up, Mike?
There you go. Chuck. Appreciate you, Charles. All right. Let's see. Let me see. Iria says she will be in town. Okay. Okay. So unable to play, but you'll be at the SWAC tournament. Good deal. All right, Iria. Appreciate that. The update. Okay. Well, obviously, look, you guys are very savvy sports fans. The folks who listen to our show, you guys are aware of things that are happening, without a doubt, and we are in, as it relates to collegiate athletics and especially basketball, we're in some very unusual, for us, we're in some very unusual times.
Dynamic.
I like that word. Dynamic times. Because most of us, we came to FAMU. Most of us stayed at FAMU. We tried like heck to get that degree. Maybe if you didn't get the degree in the 4 years, you eventually got it in 5, some of us 6, whatever it was, and you eventually got it. Maybe you took a semester or a year off and had to come back and get it. Or maybe a few years to come back, but eventually you got it, right? But I'm telling you, the world of college athletics is so different, guys. It's so different. And so, I can do nothing but call the beginning of this week the start of transfer portal madness. The March Madness season is going on in college basketball. But Kelvin, would you have ever imagined, I heard this great analogy today. The NCAA opens up the transfer portal on the Monday after the first 2 rounds of the tournament are finishing, which I think it was J.J. Watt who said it's akin to the NFL opening up free agency right after the wild card weekend. Do your senses and on the first day, I think I saw a tweet that 1,700 kids have jumped in the portal on the first day that it opened up. I mean, having been in college athletics, seen athletics as a fan and as an administrator, would you have ever thought we would get to this point that we're at right now?
No, you couldn't project that, you would have essentially this kind of free agency, because the NCAA traditionally has pretty been restricted for student athletes specific. So I thought some changes might be possible, but you couldn't foresee it just going from one extreme to the other, which is like it's kind of going from over regulating to no regulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a matter of a few years. So I like the fact that kids have more opportunities and the flexibility, because at the end of the day, they're no different than any other traditional student that, if they decide they want to up and move and go somewhere else, they can. So, I'm not against it, but it still has to be made better. It's going to be an ongoing process. And I'm really concerned about. There are some kids who, I understand, right? That have NIL deals from bigger schools. If you watch, what's happening, it don't matter what conference you're in. It don't matter if you Division I, Division II. If you can play, you can play, and you can move up and get yourself an opportunity to get a few dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not everybody. And my concern is, the agents or the so-called agents aren't regulated enough at this point. And all it takes is somebody to get in your ear and we gonna do this and we gonna do that, and kid get out there and get stuck out there. It's gonna be a lot of student athletes who stuck out there. We already saw it with football and the portal when it first came out. It's gonna only be worse probably for the next year or two until things settle and there's a better grasp of where we're going, right? We got to see this opt-in process happen. I think is everybody have to declare by May 1st, if I'm not mistaken. The NCAA opt-in in terms of being able to revenue share with student athletes. That's going to have an impact. But I tell you, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really important that coaches our strength is roster management and team building. And what I mean by that is not only do you need kids who can help you win, but you got to kind of be a psychologist and kind of have, read kids and see if they have commit issues and they mind being pushed to work hard and if
but
everything
Kelvin,
everything's even, if everything even,
But you're a father. You know how kids are. I've coached and taught a lot of kids in high school. You can have the best plans and intentions for these kids, but man, their mind can change in a moment's notice and have you completely blindsided. And I think at one point, a lot of coaches were blindsided. But I think more and more coaches are starting to understand and really accept this new reality. And there are cases where now the coaches have always been able to transfer. I don't know I didn't get a chance to do the total number, but every year there's probably at least 30 new head coaching jobs that open up. And sometimes it's because a coach maybe was fired early or wasn't retained. And once that domino starts, where a coach at a good or what's considered a good program leaves or is fired, then guess what? Somebody who's currently has a job jumps into that role. And then it just is a trickle down, a domino of maybe it's guys who already have current jobs jumping into the new job, or guys who maybe set out a year jumping into these new jobs. So coaches have, in the past, when coaches left, kids were stuck, right? You were tied, so to speak, I guess, to the university. Well, now, hey, when coaches leave, guess what? Kids can go too, without any fear of being held a year. And it's like they're not even waiting to see who the next coach is. I mean, look, we had that situation last year, right? I mean, with our own men's basketball program, where kids were gone, and they kind of knew the coach was on a lame duck contract and probably wasn't going to be renewed. But it took, 2 months after it really kind of came out before the new coach was hired. And so guys had to decide. They couldn't wait around. It was like, okay, do I wait around or do I leave? And I'm kind of stuck, So, yeah, I mean, every kid, every coach, it's really what I will say here as we get ready to kind of mention some of these names, as you see there for FAMU, men's and basketball, we're looking at a situation here, Kelvin, as we talk about our own men and women's basketball program, where and this is what I'd like for you guys in the chat to think about and be honest about how hard it is getting to know these kids. Because for the men's basketball program, potentially in the fall, we will be looking at let me see, do the math here. For the 4th consecutive year, a new team. Ever since SWAC Player of the Year, was it? Help me out with the name here. I can't. MJ Randolph. Randolph. After his senior year, when he left, the next year, Coach McCollum brought in like 8 or 9 transfers. That didn't work out. Then
MJ had another year too. He could have played another year.
He could have played, but he didn't.
But he went pro.
Right. And so the next year we had a new team. The following year, that team left and he brought in a whole new team. Didn't work out because it was the last year of a contract. New coach comes in, Coach Query comes in, he brings in a new team. And we're looking at this fall for the 4th consecutive year, a new team, new leading scorer, new main guy, new bench. How do you get to know anybody?
Well,
it doesn't matter. Does it affect like season tickets? I mean, you go to games. I mean, amongst you and the guys who sit there and watch the games, does it affect and bother you because you guys have to get to know a new group of guys?
Well, the reality, Brian, is you're going to get penalized for winning now. If you're a lower resource school and you have good players, they're one and done a lot of the times because they're going to be able to make, money at the next level. That's just what it is, and it ain't going nowhere. So, we have to change our mindset and understand that. I appreciate anybody who puts on the orange and green when they playing and representing the orange and green. And so if you look at the portal, we were talking about FAMU, but I mean, every school in the SWAC, men and women, pretty much got no less than 2 or 3 kids in the portal. And the same way with the MEAC. So, like I say, lower resource schools, if you are successful, look at NSU, Norfolk State. I understand the coach level and stuff, and I know at least one of them going, maybe 2 are going with him to Auburn. But point being, you are going to get penalized for being successful. So,
yeah,
you better maybe recruit coaches. And the other thing this is doing is forcing a lot of the older seasoned coaches out the game. If you notice, a lot of coaches who got a lot of time in, they don't want to deal with this environment and they're retiring. So,
or they have to have the kind of budget where they can bring in some younger coaches or some people to sort of manage
coaching is a young man's game now in this climate. To be able to deal with these transitional type of players. Yeah.
Here's some interesting numbers because I'm gonna give a shout out here to our friend of the program, Liv Antilla, Live for Hoops. Mm-hmm. She's been done a great job of tracking the HBCU transfer portals. Not only, and I see Liv's in the chat. What up, Liv?
What's up, Olivia?
Right. I was going to say on this show, it's always Olivia. We're the only ones that get to call her that. Everybody else, y'all got to call her Liv. I'm just telling y'all that. But she's done a great job of tracking the men and women's. And so I did some numbers. I told her, I said I had to send her this because exactly. It's always the government name, Liv. It's always. So here's some numbers. I'm going to give you the men's numbers because I sent her this just kind of a summary. There are, as of this evening, all 23 HBCU Division I schools have at least 2 players in the transfer portal. Okay, at least 2. Liv said then 2 more added on the women's side. See, that's how quick it is, man. It's moving. So these numbers I'm giving you are as of like 5 o'clock this evening. So these numbers may be old. I don't know how old they'll be, but they may be old, right? So 23 schools by my count on the men's side, 108 players. 108. And I just did the math, Kelvin. If you think about a roster with 15 kids, right? You usually get 15 rosters, right? Among the 23 schools, that's 345 total players that probably started in the fall on a roster. So already, these are not kids who exhausted eligibility through graduation, but 108, that's almost 1/3 of the kids have jumped into the portal across just the HBCU. Again, the number that I heard or saw was put out there was 1,700 in the first day across all of college basketball. D1 probably, I think. Okay. So, of course, with our own FAMU men's team, 8 guys. Now, 7 of them were on this year's roster. 1 didn't play this year. He was actually on the roster last season, right? Morel Schramm, right? But the other ones that jumped in the portal, Alex Andrews, Trey Lewis, Tyler Shirley, Miles Hall, excuse me. The more significant players, Sterling Young, SWAC, most outstanding player. We kind of got the vibe that was going to happen. Milton Matthews, SWAC newcomer of the year. I will say this. If you caught our interview with Milton, you kind of got that sense if you were really listening closely. But, we understand. 2 guys who averaged, almost 17, 18 a game? That success you were just talking about, hey, somebody, those guys are going to level up. I mean, guys who proved it on the D1 level, and we know Milton came with Coach Creary, but I mean, even Coach knows that. Look, opportunities are going to come for him, not just personally, but financially.
Right.
Based on he was one of the top 3-point shooters in the country this past season.
Yeah.
Both
Matthews and Young is you understand they have a skill set. The game is played from the 3-point line now, and they are pretty deadly 3-point shooters. As so you understand, scorers are going to get NIL opportunities. Yeah,
right. And then the 8th one. So technically, if I'm talking active players on this past roster, the 7th is Caleb Washington. A young man who came from who spent some time at Dayton. I mean, a big body. Didn't quite work out the way it was envisioned for him to work out. So that's 7. But again, 8 is the total number because Morel Schramm, who played at FAMU in 23-24 with the last year of Coach McCullum, he's in the portal. Not sure what happened there. He didn't play on the roster. So that's 8 guys. Now, if you think that's something, hold on. Hold your horses, folks.
Yeah.
Because that's not the most of all the HBCU Division I. There are at least 2 schools that had 9 players jump in the portal. Alabama A&M, whose coach just resigned the other day, yesterday. And I think there was another one that had 9. I didn't see, maybe I had it wrong here. I know you got North Carolina A&T has 8. Prairie View has 7. Alcorn has 6. Alabama State, who just won the SWAC, has 7 players, including the young man who one of the key guys who made a nice name for himself. So when I tell you all 23 schools are dealing with it, is it UAPB? It might be UAPB who has 9. I'm looking at it right here. I got it right here. Oh, it is. UAPB has 9. Yeah, I saw that. Tyler Pearson. Thank you for that. UAPB has 9 guys in the portal. I mean, so just the numbers. But I'll tell you this. Kelvin. I got this from Valley. Valley only had like 2 guys in the portal, according to Liv's most recent numbers. Now, that's the great question. There's the question.
How many wins they had?
I don't even know. They were the worst rated team in college basketball.
I mean, if I'm that coach, I want them in the portal.
Southern had 3. Jackson State had 5. Texas Southern had 5. Again, those are the latest numbers that I got from Liv. Now, again, this question is the key question. Where are all these kids going? There are people who have no stats whatsoever.
Right.
There are guys who
are coming off injuries. Right.
Coming off injuries. Guys who are putting practice film. Like, really? Your practice film. Okay. What it is, and this is why, if you recall the comments that were recently made by Robert Jones of Norfolk State, and I don't know if you caught it, he basically said HBCUs are becoming glorified, I'm paraphrasing here, glorified JUCOs.
Right.
And I understand what he's trying to say is that coming to an HBCU, when you have been at a lower level or maybe didn't have any playing time, maybe coming out of high school, and you get to the HBCU level and have success, take the kid from Howard, for example, right? Undersized, all of a sudden hit a growth spurt, gets picked up by Howard, goes from 6'3" to 6'8" in a year, has a breakout season at Howard. Guess what? He's gone in the portal. But there's so many other kids that aren't like that, who didn't have those great numbers. And I'm just thinking, where are you going? Somebody's going to, because not only are the guys from out of FAMU or all these other schools leaving, but guess what, Kelvin? You got kids from Division II who picked up an extra year. If they move to Division I, right? NAIA kids who move. Look, we've had Milton Matthews was an NAIA player 2 years in a row, proving that if you can ball, you can ball.
Right.
So just imagine, what would you rather have? A high-level performing D2 or NAIA player, or a guy who was the 10th or 11th man on a Division I program? How do you think that's going to work out?
Yeah.
Like Liv said, they're fighting. You're fighting. These guys are fighting for roster spots against better D2, NAI, and JUCO. Yeah, I forgot about the JUCO. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the foreign kids as well. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the high-level high school kids. There's not enough scholarships for everybody.
But, that kind of translates to the students in general, not just student athletes. This generation, they don't have the same commitment level and loyalty. They're very transactional and mobile. I'm talking about non-athletes, right? Nobody's looking for a job that they can stay on for 20 years, like back in the day. These kids, got more of an entrepreneur spirit. They kind of float to the next best opportunity. That's just what it is. And, colleges and college coaches and administration is going to have to adjust to that, number one. And then you're going, again, on the assessment, in terms of roster management, the assessment of the kind of profile of kids you're bringing in. You can't miss no more, right? You mentioned Coach McCullum, and after, the team where he had MJ Randolph, he also had like 8 seniors on that squad. And they had been together for like 3 seasons. Yeah. And so he lost a lot of players at one time, and he missed on that next group of guys he brought in. And so that set him back 2 years, which he didn't have but 2. So coaches just going to have to do a really good job of assessment the kids that they bring in.
This is a great question by EA, because we were talking offline, guys, me and Kelvin, and I mean, we've had some good discussions. And I think a lot of you guys will have great discussions as well. Trying to put logic to an illogical situation is what I think frustrates a lot of fans. But EA asked a good question. If we had better crowds, training tables, recovery training at FAMU, would these kids stay?
No.
I don't think they would either.
It goes right back to what I just said. The whole spiel about kids are transactional now, and at least not put it this way. I don't think the top 2 scorers on the men's team would probably stay regardless, unless we had an NIL that was in the ballpark of what they can get on the market.
Right. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm seeing a lot of people. You guys are, and I mean, it is a great question. It's a great question, EA. And again, the NIL money, whether it be revenue sharing, which is a concept that what was it, Kelvin? Who was it that we recently saw in the state of Florida putting a system together of revenue sharing with their student athletes?
I forget.
Is that UCF? I thought.
I think it was UCF. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, even at the HBCU level and our men's level, Jackson State, Alabama State, Grambling, Southern, Bethune, all four of those schools. What's all synonymous with all 4 schools? They were all in the what? Semifinals of the SWAC tournament, right? All of them are doing revenue sharing of some sort, right? Now, granted, I know I just told you, all of them have transfer portals, right? I mean, Bethune has 5 guys in the portal. Jackson State has 5 in the portal. JSU, who else? I'm sorry. Alabama State has 7. Grambling has 4. So they're not immune. So I tell you, even with this revenue sharing, they're not immune to the portal. That's what I'm telling you. It's the money. Bad. I don't know if it's bad advice. It's the money, all the stuff that we're just talking about. These, what young people are looking at. Look, people will say there's always been a culture of jumping around at the AAU level. And for a lot of these kids, they were probably jumping around to different AAU teams in the spring, trying to catch on with somebody that could get them somewhere where they could get looked.
Man, high school. You remember one of our players who we had on the show a few weeks ago went to 3 different high schools.
He did. Yep.
So I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's it definitely is. On the women's side, not immune to the transfer portal. Now, it's curious for our women's program because we knew going into the season, or at least late in the season, we learned that Coach Gordon was how many? We talked about this. She told us there were about 8 young ladies who she knew were exhausting eligibility. Okay, so right. I want you to the number of names I'm gonna tell you. Just let that sink in for a second. We already knew there were at least 8 who weren't going to have any more eligibility. But already in the portal, you got Olivia Delancey. We didn't see Olivia very much after November. Whatever for whatever reason, we didn't see her. Okay, Elia Ellis. I thought she played some good minutes at moments in the post. Demaya Griffin. Demaya Griffin was a transfer who came over from the JUCOs. Actually, I think an MVP level player in her conference where she came from. Coach Gordon, real excited about her. Yeah, Delancey only played 5 games. But Griffin was one of her. Actually, Lancey was one of the first recruits that Coach Gordon brought. Right? Remember? Mm-hmm. Came very late, almost like a week or 2 after.
The only one.
The only one in her first year. And then she went next year. She got Demaya Griffin, who came. Eve Alexander, a freshman, only here 1 year. She's in the portal. We saw Eve's minutes drop to the point where we were kind of like, what happened to Eve? I mean, looked like she was transitioning towards being a major factor off the bench. And then it's kind of like the minutes just dried up in the last month of the season. And then I thought the one that really was a blow, Sydney Hendricks, sophomore, played, obviously she wasn't a recruit of Coach Gordon's, but I thought she has played really well over the past 2 seasons. And you caught our show with Liv even talked about her playing out of position a lot this past year. She got hurt in the last game of the season against Bethune, last regular season game. Not really sure the extent of that injury. I don't know if it was an ACL or something.
My understanding it was.
Oh, it was. Okay, wow.
That's my understanding.
Okay, well, but she's in the portal, which that is head shaking. That's scratching. So again, and then a name of a young lady who didn't play this year but was on the roster last year, Annabelle Latorre Syria, if I said her name right. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls, 5 that played this past year. Add in the 8 that we knew were going to be gone. And if I do the math correct, the only name that is not in the portal is Cheyenne McEvans, who has a year of eligibility coming back next year.
And the point guard, right? She's not in yet.
Purifoy. Yeah. You're right. Purifoy. And maybe Nishani Gilbert, if anybody can ever find where she is or what happened. I don't know. She's on the roster, on the website. I don't know. Injured, MIA. I don't know. Hope she's well. I wish we knew. Yes. You do the math. Do the math. Yeah, Edwin, it's tough. That as I said, Cheyenne and Purifoy are probably the only 2. And I don't know. Did Purifoy have time left?
Yeah, this was her first year from JUCO.
Okay.
Yeah, she was only junior.
Right.
And she probably can get this year back.
This is a great question. How does this portal work? Because my understanding is once you go in, there's no guarantee that you can just come on back. Exactly. As Liv says, some coaches don't take
them back. It depends on the coach. Yeah. It depends on the coach. Yeah.
It depends. Now we've seen it both ways at FAMU. Obviously, on the football side, what do we have? We had, remember when Isaiah Lamb jumped in the portal? Obviously, he pulled his name back. Coach was, glad to have him back. But then there have been some.
Coach Goza has always given it, and Willie, get as long as you did it the right way, they always gave blessings for you to explore.
Right. So that's that free agent side of things. So who knows? Maybe Coach Gordon, the young ladies, especially the ones who she originally recruited, Griffin, Alexander. I don't know. It's
and then if you remember when Coach McCullen came on his last year and he talked about how he missed in that recruiting cycle at the MJ, and he actually mentioned that he had some guys not to come back, and 2 of those guys were like his leading scorers from that team because they didn't fit the culture of what he was trying to develop and the team to come together because they were cancers to the team. So I imagine so just keep in mind, not all the kids are there for NIL opportunities. Some who didn't play looking for more playing time. Some who may have had playing time but didn't fit the coaches. Didn't like the coaches didn't like what they brought to the table. They pushing those kids into the portal. So it's kind of a mixed bag with all of that. Again, it's a lot for roster management purposes. I think it's really important to have someone on your staff who's really connected with the AAU circuit and the high school kids, because that's going to be your saving grace at a lower resource institution, along with the NIA kids and those Division II kids. to rebuild your roster from year to year?
I will tell you that I feel I've listened to Coach Gordon on a couple of occasions talk about the type of young people that she's bringing in. Now, we saw last week, we talked about some of the recruits that she has coming in. She's already said she's working on again, she already knew she was going to have 8 spots open up. So she's already in recruiting mode, rebuilding her team with her girls, her young ladies who have the toughness and mindset that she wants. And I will tell you, Coach Crary, he is already on the recruiting trail. He now has a full staff. Remember, when he brought in the kind of team that he had this year, he didn't have a full staff. He didn't have 3 assistant coaches as connected and on the ground as he has right now. That was just him. And on word of mouth, he had none of those guys who came in actually did campus visits. And I would tell you, he is, and I want y'all to listen to me. Coach is very excited and confident about what he is bringing to FAMU. So I'm telling y'all, let that sink in and settle in however y'all want to take it and absorb it. But he is excited about what he is bringing to FAMU. There are young men who are coming this weekend to FAMU to visit. He is very excited about what he's bringing. Yes, I said it.
Well, coaches, he doesn't lack excitement or confidence for sure. So I'm glad that he's out there doing the job, and I'll be even glad in a week or two.
Me too.
that we can actually have him on the show.
Exactly. Just some total numbers on the women's side, again, based on Liv's reporting of the transfer portal. 20 Division I HBCU schools, 20 of the 23 have at least a player in the portal. That's a total. Right now on the women's side, it's a little smaller numbers than the men's, 59 total players. But there's some key players out there. I mean, on our roster, look, the young lady from Norfolk State, former conference player of the year, the defensive player of the year in the SWAC, an all MEAC player, the young lady from Howard. There's some big names that have jumped in the portal from the HBCU levels.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? It's, I don't know. All we can do is when we see them, I instantly just go to, hey, come on to FAMU. I don't know. It's almost like we as fans, we as supporters, when we see these kids say that they're, I'd like to thank so-and-so school. I'm gonna put my name in the portal, blah, blah, blah. We have to get in there and let them know, hey, come to FAMU, choose FAMU. This is a great place. Think about us.
Hey, Bryan, one last element to this discussion that I have no idea what the impact is going to be because it's new is the settlement or the NCAA settlement opt-in, right? Which allows universities, athletic department to share in revenue sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, low resource HBCUs are in a position. I don't know if they know what they don't know and how that's going to look, but that's going to be really interesting to see, how to opt in and how the universities, manage that could have a positive impact or it could have a negative impact. But I just want to bring that out and also to just remind people, this is why it's important to support the Fang Exchange and all the NIL collectives at our different institutions who have them, because they're going to be more important than ever, and we have to put our money where our mouth is if we want championship programs year in and year out, and not just 1 year and then we down for 3 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, Kelvin. I think what's fascinating again about these times is roster construction So much of it. And again, I mean, there's names that are still weighing options. When is the deadline? When does the portal close? Is it because I thought it was like a 2-week? It was only open for like 2 weeks. I thought.
Can't say I don't remember, but it don't matter for those kids who coaches left the program though.
That's true.
They immediately got 30 days.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this. I know it seems shocking when you do the math on the number of FAMU women's basketball players not there. Liv said she thinks it's April 22nd. Okay, so it's almost God bless it. It's almost like a full month that it stays open. There's a school, I think it was Indiana State's women. And I saw Indiana State's women's basketball program had their 11th player enter the portal. All right, they don't have a new coach. If I'm not mistaken, Liv knows what I'm talking about because I got this off of her feed. I saw it. They don't have any players technically designated for the roster in 25-26, based on the ones who entered the portal and what you had returning. I know those are the outliers, but it just goes to emphasize, guys, that kids jumping in the portal is not I know it seems like it's a reformation about the coach, but it could just be the kids. It could just be that kids are looking for something that may not really be there. And instead of just staying and working, even if it was to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to stay another year, try to work myself into a role, a better role, right?
Work on my game.
And work on the game, and then maybe transfer. Get some minutes under your belt. Get some playing time. Figure out,
build a resume.
Thank you. Build your resume. Otherwise, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to go down to a JUCO, or I guess you can't go to prep school. I know D2, D3, and go get some playing time so that maybe you make yourself attractive again to somebody. I don't know.
Hey, also roster management this is just a question. I don't know if it's a right or wrong answer to it is, but especially for lower resource schools, do coaches adjustment be if you get in the portal, you can't come back? I believe some folks gonna have to make that hard decision.
I would be cautious I'd be cautious about making a blanket, statement, because there may be some kids that you're excited about getting in the portal. Like, okay, if you want to go in the portal, okay. But then there's other kids who, if they go in the portal, okay. But the minute that kid says, Coach, I went out in the portal, I didn't get much offer. I like what I had here at FAMU. I'd like to come back. Coach will be like, heck yeah, come on, I'll take you back.
Well, it's not manageable, though, especially with the windows getting tighter. See, when the portal first opened, transfer portal first opened, you had bigger windows, and you had multiple periods of time that you could do, especially in football. As they kind of shortened that timeline and moved it around based on, the semester schedules and, try to show up the timing of transfers. I don't know if you can be as liberal. What I would say is this. My point is, it's already unmanageable. You have to do something to make it a little bit more manageable. And that is an option for coaches, I think, to make it somewhat manageable. So at least your marginal players, ain't just trying to date 3 people at the same time.
Look, Tyler, I don't know how you can plan like this. I don't know, you can't. This is the illogical. This is the trying to put logic to an illogical situation. I don't think you can plan like this because, hey, I'll say it like this. I love the idea. Liv, definitely. The athletic department's going to have to do things.
Yeah.
That's the revenue sharing thing. That's extra dollar on a ticket. We've seen programs doing stuff like that. Something is going to have to come in. and you know, but
Yep.
you know, I want to get. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Emmett, because I got a hot take, and I don't know when I want to drop it. So I'm going to hold it for a second. But I think being creative is important for every school. But I guess I'll put a bow on this segment by saying, Kelvin, we're just at this stage of college athletics where it's sad that nobody is really satisfied. It seems that way. And I don't know. I see, you know, I know Liv said that sometimes believe everything went or something to the effect of that. It usually has to do with a coach. But I also think sometimes you have to work through tough situations. I don't know. I would love to hear from, you know, parents of, and I talked about this on Sunday night's show. I'd love to try to find a group of parents of collegiate student athletes. I'd love to hear from them about the advice or how they help their kids. And I know we've got some parents of some athletes that are on our show. And I'd love for you guys, if you're one of those people, reach out to us. Reach out to me on social media. Send us an email on the show, ONG@StrikeZone@gmail. I'd love to be able to kind of have conversations, maybe even bring you on the show and talk and hear, because that we hear from the coaches. We can get the players. Maybe the players will be honest. I don't know. But sometimes we need to hear from the parents. We need to hear from the people, or maybe the people who are giving the advice.
I would love to hear from some agents. I know we working on.
We're working on it. We are working on that. We
have a couple. Yeah,
we got a couple that we're working on. All right. Let's get into our first break. We appreciate you guys, your interaction in that first segment, but we're overdue on a break. When we come back, we got to catch up on the diamond, because, you know, where is it? We call, what's our second home? What do we say? Sweet home where?
Famabama,
Alabama. It's all love when we head north into the great state of Alabama. Sweet home, Alabama, as we like to call it. So the men and women's programs, our baseball and softball team, had a great weekend in Montgomery and in
Huntsville.
And so we want to talk about that on the other side. So and then kind of talk about what they have coming up this upcoming weekend. So hang tight with us. We'll get into maybe a little more transfer portal and basketball talk on the other side. Maybe even talk about, I know the first spring scrimmage is starting tomorrow for football. So I saw Gerald had posted an article, so maybe we can kind of, you know, talk about that, what we're seeing or hearing, and that and a little bit more. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. Hit the thumbs up and the like button if you would, because I know you haven't. You like that first segment so much. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up and the like button. We appreciate you. And we'll be back after these words.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Greetings, I'm Kiana Watson.
Hi, I'm Zoriana Hughes.
Greetings, I'm Nia Morgan, and for all things FAMU athletics,
check out the Orange and Green Strike Zone
on Wednesdays at the Black College Sports Network.
Go Rattlers!
All right. Welcome back to the OG Strike Zone. Bryan and Kelvin here. Maybe sometime in this hour, the third member of our team, Marcus Green, will join us. Maybe. Fingers crossed.
He playing hooky.
We'll see what happens. Shout out to the ladies of our softball team, Samantha Smith, Nia Morgan, Zoriana Hughes, for the shout outs. And the softball team got a good series win under their belt when they traveled up to Huntsville, Alabama this past weekend. Sweeping the Bulldogs 10-2 on Friday night. Jumped on the Bulldogs early with a 4-run top of the first inning. Scored 2 runs in the third, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, holding Alabama A&M to just 2 runs on 6 hits. Zoriana Hughes would end up getting the win as she pitched all 6 innings. 2 strikeouts, again, 6 hits in the contest. Shout out to, let me see, our hits leaders came from Jamison Townsend. She was 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs, 3 runs in game 1. Amari Brown in short, 2 hits and 4 at-bats. Also had 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And Brianna Duggins on first, 2 for 3. 2 RBIs and a run scored. So the middle of the lineup, that's the 4, 5, and 6, really just had a field day on A&M in game number 1, going 10-2. Amari Brown did get a home run in that contest. Speaking of Amari, in game number 2, she took the mound for game 2. And got the win. FAMU again jumped out to a lead. We defeated A&M 9-1. Nearly had a shutout. Only gave up the 1 run in the 6th inning. Only allowed 2 hits. Amari pitched a complete game. This is the second appearance that it's the second game that Amari has really. It's almost like when she's in a zone and she gets a win. I mean, it's damn near. I mean, didn't she have a shutout or almost a no-hitter in the one other win that she got during the season? I forgot who it was against. It was I think it was one of the
HBCUs collection.
Yeah, that Covington event.
Yeah.
So, no earned runs. Even though they did score a run, it wasn't earned on her. And so that was her second win of the season. Anaya Canty got the home run in that contest. And again, Naya, she went 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, 2 runs. Brianna Duggins, 3 for 4, 2 runs scored. And that was game number 2, but it was the first of 2 on Saturday. And then game number 3, which was the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday, we won that game 5-2. Actually trailed heading into the top of the third before we scored 2 in the third, scored another in the fourth, and another in the fifth. So we had a 5-1 lead, gave up another run late in the 5th inning to A&M. Let me see who got the win for that game. Samantha Smith pitched that one. She pitched 5 innings, struck out 4, walked 3, gave up 1 earned run and 4 hits. Zoriana Hughes came in and closed it out with 2 innings of relief work, no save. So, pretty good day for, our top 3 pitchers. FAMU's record now is 10-16. And I believe our conference record
6-3.
6-3. I don't know what the standings. Have you looked at the standings?
Yes. Yeah, we're behind Bethune and Jackson. Bethune took 2 or 3 out from Jackson. But they both got a game that was canceled. So I think when they played each other, it rained out or something. So they're 6-2. Okay. And then we're sitting at 6-3. Alabama A&M was 5-1 up until this weekend. And we talk about how we schedule versus other SWAC teams schedule.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of where it shows. Once we get into conference play, we typically we get on a roll because we were very battle tested and have played against high level competition. Whereas some choose to build up their record out of conference and get confidence.
Yeah, Alabama A&M had a coming into the series, they were 5-1 or something to that effect.
5-1 in conference,
right. So I don't know I don't know which 2 teams in the East they played.
They hadn't played the top teams. That's for sure.
I was gonna let you say it, right? I just toss it up and let you hit it. And they had like a 500 record, so kind of what you were talking about their record being a little fugazi, kind of being a little misleading. This weekend is the alumni softball weekend, right? I think you've seen, hopefully, if you're following FAMU athletics, or I think we retweeted it out. It's a softball weekend. We're taking on Mississippi Valley State this weekend. The first game is Friday night, 6 o'clock at Veronica Wiggins Field. And then they play a doubleheader at 1 and 3. And then the alumni game is on Sunday. Saturday at noon, or Sunday at noon.
Yeah.
Sunday at noon. So, just kind of keep your eyes open for that. That should be pretty entertaining. But I don't think Valley should be much of a threat for us, is it? Are they?
They shouldn't be. You got to play. You got to show. We fans though, so we can say that.
Right. Yeah. You still got to show up.
You still got to show up and play.
Yeah. Still got to show up and play. So, good stuff. All right. Let's move over to baseball. As mentioned, we just played Troy. I'm trying to see if I can pull up what the final score was.
10-8.
10-8.
Yeah. Four errors in the game. Yeah.
Gave up 5 runs in the final, 2 runs in the 7th, 3 runs in the 8th.
Yep.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, had 6 runs to open up the first inning, had another in the second, and then we kind of gave up 3 there in the third, but still had a lead at the end of 6, and it wasn't until that 7th and 8th inning hit us where we end up losing that game. So the record drops to 11-12. But over the weekend, though, we got 2 out of 3 against Alabama State at Montgomery. Won the first game on Friday night 4-2. Carson Kelly ended up getting the win. It took 3 runs in the top of the 8th inning for us to overcome a 3-1 deficit. Excuse me, a 2-1 deficit. 3 runs in the 8th inning. All on the bat of William Brown with a 3 RBI, 3-run homer. His only hit of the day. So pretty impressive job for the young man. William Brown, of course, a redshirt junior from out of Gainesville. Out of Tallahassee. Tallahassee. So good performance, good win for us. Game 2, 5-2 victory. Once again, not that we were behind in this contest, because the 3rd inning, we jumped on Alabama State with 2 runs, gave up 1 in the bottom of the 3rd, scored another in the top of the 4th, and gave up 1 in the bottom of the 4th. So after 4, we had a 3-2 lead, scored 2 insurance runs in the 8th to sort of cement the victory. Let's see. Garrett Workman would end up getting the win. He pitched 6 innings, only gave up 2 walks, 2 earned runs. Cody Williams came in and got the save, pitched the last 3 innings to get the save. So it's pretty good work by those 2 young men. And that's got to be always a positive when you don't have to go deep into your bullpen on those situations. And then we were looking for the sweep on Sunday, and Alabama State came out determined, wasn't going to let that happen. They jumped on us early, scored 6 runs through the first 2 innings before we even scored another a couple runs in the 3rd and in the 5th to make it a 4-2 game. Actually, it was 5-6. It was 5-6 going into the bottom of the 6th before Alabama State scored 3 more runs to increase their lead. And then they added 3 in the bottom of the 8th. Before you know it, there's your game. Brady Popple did get a homer in the contest in the 5th inning, 2 RBI homer. So, I got to say, Alabama State, we expect them to be what? We expect them to be one of the top teams in the conference, right?
Yeah, they're there every year. And, that was our first conference loss. We're 5-1 in conference right now.
Exactly. Started out 5-0. We're
tied with Bethune and Grambling at 5-1 in conference. With Prairie View coming up in Tallahassee this weekend.
Right. And, hopefully, not only will our softball games, but our baseball games will be streaming on Rattlers Plus. Hopefully. We'll see. I don't know. You heard anything about what's going on with that, Kelvin?
I don't know.
All right. Well, don't cancel your subscription just yet, Hollow. Remember, it's even that subscription is going to the athletic department, so don't cancel it just yet. But Prairie View is coming to town, as Kelvin mentioned. What's Prairie View's record in the SWAC right now?
4-2.
4-2. All right, so they're probably sitting on that next tier, right behind the leaders,
the expected leaders.
The expected leaders.
Well, at least, Grambling, going by preseason predictions, Grambling and Bethune were expected leaders.
Right. Now, as it relates to baseball, what poll was that you were looking at earlier that had FAMU ranked number 1?
HBCU Go.
Okay, so HBCU goes I don't know if they call it the major or Division I level. Had us ranked number 1.
I think it was the SWAC. They do it by conferences.
Oh, they do it by conference. Okay,
right.
So they had us rated as the. I'm gonna pull it up here and see if I can pull it up. Had us rated what as number 1.
Yeah.
In the SWAC. Okay, yeah, they do theirs by conference. The Power 5, as they call it, had FAMU, Bethune, Grambling, Texas Southern, and Prairie View. That's their order of 1 to 5. So a little bit almost in sync with the standings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say the Black College Nines, those of you who are familiar, if you are an HBCU baseball fan, you definitely should know about that site. I think the website is Black College Nines, or you can find them on X under HBCU Nines. But their Division I poll, which is various media members vote on, FAMU is 3rd.
Yeah, but it's not current though.
Their poll is every 2 weeks. And then I think at one point then it moves to every week, but I think early in the season it's every 2 weeks. I believe Alabama State was 1st, and was Jackson State 2nd?
Yeah, because Jackson State has the overall winning record. Because out of conference they tend to not push themselves and play as many competitive programs. They play a lot of D2s and other close by programs. So, they build up their resume and their confidence out of conference.
Mm-hmm. All right. Man, I just saw a coach here that's got he just put his resume on X and was like, yo, I'm looking for a job. I'm like, damn, it's like that these days, huh? Tennis. Since we last Wednesday showed, tennis has only played once over the course of the past week. Of course, this is on the heels of losing 4-0 to Alabama State, which is the only series we've lost, the only match we've lost in conference play. We got it back, but we got our winning ways back, getting a 4-1 victory over Southern on the Althea Gibson Tennis Complex at home. And if I'm not mistaken, we're in a tie for first place, if I'm not mistaken.
I know there's a cluster coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
In Montgomery this weekend.
Right. So this weekend for tennis, it is the cluster that you just mentioned. And it really is the last big cluster of games for us before the Bethune-Cookman match. And then after that, it's time for the SWAC tournament. And the SWAC tournament will be here in about a month. I don't know if there's going to be any additional matches scheduled in between. It seems like there's a lot of time in between some of these matches. But as you mentioned, the cluster this weekend is in Montgomery, Alabama. So I want to encourage any Rattlers in the Montgomery area to go support the tennis team. We take on Alabama A&M on Friday. Then we take on Jackson State on Saturday, which should be a tough one because I think Jackson State beat Alabama State. And then we take on Prairie View on Sunday. So again, we have Alabama A&M on Friday, Jackson State on Saturday, Prairie View on Sunday. Yeah.
Look like the SWAC don't have the
standings up to date.
Up to date, right?
It's hard out here for everybody. Shouldn't be, but it is. It's hard. Don't worry about it, folks.
Yeah.
I know it frustrates. But we'll eventually we'll get there. You know, Emmett, I'm of that thought as well, Emmett. I'm right there with you. But I also think you got to have infrastructure. You got to have the setup in place, or you have to build something that can survive administrative or staff personnel changes. And unfortunately, I think that's maybe a little bit of the situation that we're in with some of our stuff.
Well, the reality is we have to operate better, and we have to have better cooperation and synergy between the university and the athletic department. It's kind of been siloed, and we've been successful. Yeah, we've been successful in spite of, but the reality is the university has to do a better job of letting athletics be athletics. They need to get out of the athletic business and let the AD and those folks do their job. That's what it is,
I would love to. Let me write that question down if we ever get an opportunity. But we hear that so often. We hear that. So bothersome. But you're so right. That's the bad part. You're so right. I want to also make mention the golf team is coming back from the HBCU Bridgestone Invitational, I believe, in Napa. When we had Coach on a couple of weeks ago, I was looking up the results of that tournament. There were 14 teams in the field. Let's just say we were the best finishing HBCU. Unfortunately, there were 9 other schools in front of us in the standings that were overall better than us. So we'll take this. We'll take the win in that respect, because I do believe Howard was there, North Carolina A&T was there, and I wasn't paying attention to the site as to who the 4th HBCU was that was there. But again, we finished higher than on. Howard is that program that that NBA guy funded, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody, I feel pretty good that without Steph Curry money, we still beat that program from Howard. That's pretty positive. Good stuff. So hopefully, I'm not sure whether Coach Rice and the guys are back yet from California, but hopefully, if not, and they're on their way, safe travels. They don't have another meet until I think it's next weekend when they're up there in Tennessee State. You want to talk about the spring football first scrimmage coming up tomorrow for a moment?
You can.
I'm trying to see if there's any takeaways. I know hopefully you guys are following Gerald Thomas and checking out the Tallahassee Democrat articles. He's out there every morning covering the team. Trying to see if there's really anything other than some of the coach speak that I'm seeing from Coach.
Well, we got new coaches in place. Coach gave away the defensive ends, but he's official now.
Okay.
And the DC coach, he's there, but he's still not official yet because they haven't announced him. So they're still processing something. Right.
We won't say it on air who it is. We'll let that come out via AD Suggs in the athletic department. But if you you hit us up online. We'll tell you offline if you really want to know. Quarterbacks battle.
Yeah. I think the only thing coaches, kind of talked about thus far in camp, they had about 5 or 6 practices now.
Right.
just getting them in game situations, being able to see. He says he's gonna have the headsets out, and I'm assuming the officials and everything. So, he needs to see. He wants to be able to evaluate these players. They've installed some basic but some new schemes on both sides of the ball. He want to take a look at that, and the only way he can evaluate his quarterbacks is they put them under pressure. So, I kind of have a lot of grace with the first scrimmage. Their schedule is Tuesday, Thursdays, and Friday, and their scrimmages, first one being this Thursday and another one next Thursday. And then the only weekend or Saturday scrimmage is the orange and green game itself. So, I'll pay attention to this first scrimmage, but I'll take it with a grain of salt. Now that next Thursday is the one I'll really be tuning into.
We gotta see if we can get you into that one. I'm sure if you ask, Coach will let you.
I don't think that would be a problem. It's just when they have it in, whether I'm working, what I got to go on at work.
Exactly. you do. I forgot you do have a job. Yes. But I know Gerald will be there, so make sure to stay in touch and in tune with Repeat G on X. That's the number 3, and then Gerald will be able to provide some good. I don't know if he'll be live tweeting. I don't know, Gerald. If you're watching, can we get some live tweets during the scrimmage? That'd be, I don't know. That may get you put out. So if you understand that, don't lose your access for us. But if you're allowed to live tweet, Gerald, we'd love for some live updates, because I'm always fascinated at the overreaction. Sometimes you'll see, like in the article, and this is how I know Gerald is a pro, right? Gerald likes to keep relationships. And sometimes there'll be, and you've seen this in the articles if you're reading them, where he'll mention that there may have been an interception by the defense, but Gerald never mentions who threw it, and that's a pro. That's a pro who understands that if he were to say who threw the interception, a lot of folks watching and listening and reading will freak out, because they'll be like, oh, see, I knew so-and-so wasn't going to be the quarterback or the person that we need. He threw an interception. I mean, it's practice, but.
Yeah, folks, you got to be got careful not to overreact. Spring game last year, there were QB1 threw 3 interceptions.
Yes.
And he just went on to be the most accurate. Spring game.
We chalked that up to a good defense. Remember what we did to that? We said, "Oh well, it's a good defense that we have over there." That's what it was. Yeah.
You just, we didn't have the numbers. We didn't even do a traditional scrimmage, right?
No, we did.
So, yeah.
I just love the fact that we have 93 particular guys out there. Again, about 40.
Very experienced team, right?
Yeah, 40 more than I think. Again, Coach
with a full staff. I think that's important too.
Yeah, with a full staff. So the quarterbacks: Traven Green, Tyler Jefferson, Bryson Martin, Junior Maritovic, Roman Purcell. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, when we get to the split squad, you'll probably get 3 and 3. And then, but in these scrimmages, we'll see. And, don't overreact to who the first person is to take snaps. I know we want to, but don't overreact to it. Did you see EA's question in there to you, Kelvin? When you get a chance, take a look at it. So again, looking at Gerald's article, FAMU's run defense is definitely going to be tested in the first scrimmage. Don't forget, that was we've got 2 very good running backs RB1. I don't know if you can say RB1 or RB2. I'm going to just say RB1A and RB1B between Thad Franklin Jr., who was the Florida Classic MVP, offensive MVP, and then Bo Somerset, who, I mean, we've seen the flashes of Bo, and we knew when we remember we had Bo on the show as a high school. Yeah. We knew Bo was going to be exciting when he got his call. And so last year we started to see the flashes of it, especially on special teams. I think you're going to see an increased role this year. Remains to be seen what the rest of the running back room looks like, and then but that run defense. I mean, the guys, we gave up the 8th most rushing yards in the conference, 167 per game. That's got to get cut in half. We got to be in the top third, back to where we were, but I think that'll come with health. The defensive lines, James Ash, James Gardner Jr., Davion Westmoreland, those guys are going to have some good.
Very, very experienced staff too. I have to say, you remember last year I talked about, especially early, a lot about I didn't think we were fundamentally sound with some of the schemes we were doing, where we had the end crashing in, and so those teams were running a read option off of that, and you was asking Deco to come way back from safety, 11 yards back and to kind of keep outside containment, and if he missed, there was nobody else there, so I'm sure they would show up some of that with the experience that they're bringing in.
Right. And again, as you mentioned, the schedule after the scrimmage tomorrow, Thursday the 27th, they practice again on Friday the 28th. Then next week's schedule, they'll have a practice on Tuesday, and then another scrimmage next Thursday, April 3rd. So by the time we get a chance to come on the show, maybe we'll get a chance to definitely talk about that first scrimmage. And the orange and green spring game is Saturday, April 12th. The team does have a couple of practices after that, but that's the one you want to be at, Saturday, April 12th. I haven't heard the official time, but we think it'll be 4 o'clock. Every indication that we've had today is that it'll be 4 o'clock.
That's what he said,
Right.
He's anticipated, right.
There you go. All right. Anything else you want to add there regarding football?
No, not at this time.
Outside of our world, the FAMU football world, Tennessee State has a new coach. Did you catch that over the week?
Yeah, he's got a lot of, I think it's a great hire. Barlow was actually a candidate for our job too. Mm-hmm. Of course, he has the qualifications and credentials. I think is a strong hire. And his biggest deal is trying to recruit some of those guys who were in the transfer portal to stay.
Yeah. Did you catch? I ended up watching the whole press. It wasn't like 20, 25 minutes, but his speech was amazing. It was by far, I think, of all of the introductory coaching press conferences I've heard so far, it was the best. I mean, he, a lot of times, coaches, you got something that you've written or something that maybe you've read, or he was natural. I don't even know if he had a script with him, but he was just natural, man. And I would encourage, he said some things in there that for me, I took some stuff out that I was like, man, he's right. I thought it was it came across as a great hire.
Well, you got to remember, he's seasoned. Not only has he won at the D2 level and at HBCU FCS level, but he's won at the USFL pro level, with DC. So I mean, he's just extremely qualified and knows what he's doing and has been successful in a lot of places. And TSU is a place where you have expectations and you can be successful.
Right. Okay. So some good shows and interviews. Johnny Cole and Steve on the Coach's Corner. That would be the Coach's Corner show, right? I believe that was on last night, so you can catch him there. And then of course, Blue, Zach McKinnell, Blue Buds had him on today. So there's a couple of sites that you can go to check out those conversations with Reggie Barlow. Something in the news, Kelvin, that occurred, and I want your take on it. And we oftentimes get into these discussions and debates about university involvement, where we are as a university, as a low resource, HBCU, mid-major, whatever phrase, which are all true. We are all of those things. But did you see the case of St. Francis University? St. Francis University, who's a part of the NEC, and in basketball, just played in the first four against Alabama State. Lost on a Hail Mary tip-in in point whatever seconds. Lost 70-68. They made the decision as a university, announced it just the other day, that they're going to drop from Division I to Division III, citing concerns over the financial athletic model that Division I programs are having to deal with. And it got me to thinking, Kelvin, you know what? A lot of schools need to have that conversation with themselves about who they are, but more importantly, what you're willing to support. Because we can all talk about who we are, right? These are supposed to be institutions of learning, right? But more importantly, if you're going to have athletic programs, and especially the way the athletic model is at the Division I level, okay, there are certain things that the university has to be able to support. And St. Francis, I guess, just got to the point of saying, no, we can't really support. Even though I read some articles where alumni, former players, they were going to create these NIL programs. And I'm just wondering, Kelvin, should some HBCUs also be having a real conversation with themselves internally?
I don't know if it's some. I think all of us better be doing some self-evaluation, because this is uncharted territories. We don't know the impact with this of the change and transition of NCAA isn't complete yet. We got NIL, we got the portal, we got revenue sharing with the settlement, opting in, and then you got that autonomy 4 or 5, whatever it's going to be, that hadn't finished yet. Whether they're actually moving out, and it's going to be a totally different from the regular, what we know as FBS mid-majors, or are they going to remain part of the NCAA? My guess, and all the projections say, the Power Four is going to create their own governance system. They almost have it now, and everybody else, whether you Group of 5, FBS, FCS, we all going to be in the same boat at the end of the day. But absolutely, there are some HBCUs. You can argue. All you got to do is look at budgets. And the lowest budgets in Division I and all our HBCUs take up like the last 20 something spots, right?
Yeah.
With one or two exceptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it can be argued that we have been masquerading as Division I, and we haven't made an investment.
Or as Mike said, D2's in denial. I love that.
I think really the bigger question, though, for me, and that's one way to look at it. I think the big question is not what HBCU conferences are and have been, because we have never really invested. We haven't seen any of our university ever make it a branding marketing thing and work together to try to see what it can be. We haven't really did a realignment for the most part until FAMU and BCU kind of level when it came to the SWAC. You had some other schools that went to, non-HBCU conferences and stuff. But while realignment and all these different things would happen in all the other leagues, HBCUs kind of incubate to say, we're gonna stay what we are, and we're gonna, have to subsidize our athletic departments. And my question is, and what I've always, and not all HBCUs capable of this, right? Which is back to your point, but I would like to see the blue blood HBCUs consider. And I always talk about this HBCU super conference thing, but I would like to see those HBCUs who fan base care can sustain it to go with a more aggressive model to see what we can be. We know what we have been in the past, and we're not going to do that. I think it's totally unfair to ask these coaches and these student athletes to, they put in the hard work and effort and don't have the support and really playing against the odds. We're not giving them a chance to be, champions and successful and develop. So, absolutely. And just off the top of my head, and we've talked about this. I think HBCU conference at the Division I level got to have standards and who, minimum standards. And if they're not there, they're not there. And damn it, it's just what it is. And they got to go to D2 or wherever they got to go. But if you want people to take our conferences serious, you can't have somebody in the conference with a $17 million budget and somebody with a $3 million budget.
No, exactly.
Right? Everybody got to put some skin in the game.
There's got to be a minimum. There's got to be a minimum budget.
And if you can't do it, you can't do it. But you can't be giving the same revenue as the ones who putting in 17 million and 11 million, and you put in 3 million, but you getting the same cut. It's a business, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the big challenge to all this, Kelvin, if we just took it, and maybe this is an exploration that I would encourage anyone to do, because it's not hard to do. Take a look at the presidents. Let's just use the SWAC. Take a look at the presidents within the SWAC. Now, again, when we talk about these decisions that are done at the conference level, the SWAC, works for the university run by the presidents. The presidents are the ones that make the decisions that the NCAA governs. So again, it's like when we talk about when there are issues with FAMU athletics, don't just go to AD Suggs. You need to also send an email to Dr. Bryan, right?
The SWAC commissioner, the presidents, and the board of trustees chairs. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, because so when you have an issue, that's where it needs to go. But where I'm going is, I don't think there has been enough consistency among the presidents in their role. I mean, we have an interim with Dr. Beard. I think Grambling has recently had a new president. Bethune is on an interim. Jackson State has had their president, I don't think it's been longer than a year or two. I mean, but I bet if you went and looked at the whole SWAC conference and you just tried to do a timeline and say, when has there been a consistent period of time of all 12 university presidents, or just take the top 6 programs, whoever it is you think are the top 6, most of you will probably get 4 of the same 6. There may be some of y'all will lie to yourselves and about the bottom 2, but you'll probably all have the 4. Okay. Have they all been in place at the same time for longer than, I don't know, let's say a year? Probably not. And that's a challenge, right? I think that's a major challenge. And so it's funny when I see like Dr. McClellan go before like the Southern, what do they call Southern's board of maybe a board of regents or something like that.
Or something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But if he did a tour of every university to every university's trustees or board of regents or whatever they call the group that oversees the university president, if he went and talked to them about the need to support athletics better, stronger, and what things can happen, what could we be? I don't know if he could get to everybody in time before there'd be some sort of change.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and it should be part of but you got to have administrations that want to. Again, do we value athletics or not? Right? I know homecoming and band. We love the pageantry and the show.
Yeah.
But are we committed to the business of athletic? And it's a business. And if you committed to the business, you know what that means, right? HBCUs, we like to kind of control, have our influences. People want to. You lose some control if you run it as a business, right?
Yeah.
But I would tell you this, Brian. I did want to make this point real quick. This NIL and revenue sharing and all this legislation that's coming, that kind of treat student athletes as quasi employees, it's going to force us to declare. It's going to force us. We ain't gonna be able to get away and pretend as we've done in the past. We're gonna have to actually have some fundamental structure and infrastructure within our universities and our athletic departments to be able to sustain our athletics at a Division I level under the NCAA.
Here's a thought, and I don't know, maybe we've talked about this or you've talked. What are work study students for the university? Are they considered employees?
So you get into state law, and it ain't. Yeah, it's really gray. It depends where you are, and how it's interpreted. Some universities treat it one way, so it's a hodgepodge.
And see, so where I was going was, if a system or a model like work study could be created for student athletes, because it seems like there is a system in place, work study, right? But
and then you got private. The other things, you got private and public. Private can do things that the state institutions can't do. So,
and see, this is why I don't think there'll ever be any regulated. I know people have said, "Oh, we need Congress to get involved." I don't think that'll ever happen, because you have too many states with different laws. It's states' rights. You have different laws. That's why the NCAA can't really. That's why the NCAA can only really kind of give a shell of what you can and can't do, and everything else they just kind of hold their hands up and say, "Well, your state you work in is different than another state, and we just can't do it." But when I look at our university, Florida A&M, and I look at the state we're in, and then what burns me is when I see other universities within the state system, and I see other boards doing things at a quick pace for their university. It brings me back to what you always talk about. When is Florida A&M administratively going to step up and really hammer home and make the commitment? When is it going to happen? We've been doing this show for 4 years, and I feel like we've maybe taken baby steps. I don't even think we've taken a full-grown adult step.
Oh, not operationally.
Not operationally. You're right. Right. I mean, we've been talking about a lot of the same things over the last 4 years of doing these shows, right? And the same problems that coaches had when we first got on the air, they still have now. And I bring all that up, and I see
some of it. There's been some incremental improvements,
baby steps,
but not where we needed to be.
Yeah, no, not a full grown up adult step. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you make that first. Whenever we were young teenagers, I'm sure there was something that we did where your parents said to you, "You just made a grown adult decision," you know, or whatever it may be, right? You made a grown adult decision. You got to live with it. Or, hey, I'm proud of you because you just made a grown adult decision. We have not taken a grown adult step forward in athletics. And so I look at what St. Francis University did, and I keep looking at the diaspora of HBCUs, look at FAMU, and I wonder, I wonder how would FAMUans react if the university and board said, you know what, we're moving down to D2. We can no longer try to function in this model. And would we understand, or like what you said, would we be upset about the fact that we have not tried, not with a good effort? And I'm not talking about trying to just because we have an idea and want to move to Division I football without having a solid plan in place. We haven't really tried.
Yeah, just fundraising, right? I see EA talking about the percentage of alumni who give. Well, the other part of that is how has the university asked, and how have they made the mechanisms available so that it's easy to give. And do you thank people, and do you deliver what you said you was going to deliver, right? It's a lot of pieces to giving. And that's the point I'm making with HBCUs and athletics in general. It's more than just talking and you know, we're always talking about what we aren't and what we don't have. But we never ever really push and investigate what we can be. And to implement a plan in order to get there, right? We watch everybody else do it, right? As we talk about just you know, the Appalachian State Troys of the world and all these teams that were once our peers or were below us in some case, Central Florida, you know, and then all these schools. And at the time when most of them, when they started to invest in athletics, their financial situation went a whole lot different from ours.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did was they had a plan, and I'll just be specific to give you an example of what I'm saying. So when Troy decided that they were committed to going Division I, they played Nebraska and all these teams, LSU on the road for these money games, and they let athletics and football particularly, but they let athletics keep that money that they were making for the most part, so that when they transition from FCS to FBS, that they could be competitive. That was part of the plan, though. They didn't talk about, well, we're an FCS school in a rural town, Troy, Alabama, that ain't got this. Because really, it's still that way today, right? There's nothing there but the school, and it's still rural as heck. But they had a plan on what would work for them. They committed to it. And now, you know, the community, the city has grown since it got a beautiful campus with nice facilities, and, you know, but got a very diverse, in Troy, Alabama, got a very diverse student body, really. So my point is, FAMU, there's certain schools, Southern, there's certain schools that have the opportunity to be more than what they are. Are we going to commit to that and try to seek that out? And if the answer is no, that's not what we're going to do, then I'm with Mike Rodall Reed at this point. Stop messing around. Just say we just want to be entertained, come to homecoming and beat some HBCUs, and you can do that at Division II level.
You sure can.
All right.
Yeah. I think, I'm willing to, if there aren't more, I'd be shocked if more schools aren't having the conversation after seeing what St. Francis did.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's just the beginning. Yeah,
it is, because if the NCAA is not going to create two divisions, and I mean legitimately, look at what the basketball tournament has become. Look at what is happening all over Division I. It is so clear the separation between the four major conferences and everybody else that it's laughable if you don't see it. And we're a part of, look, if you want to say there's tiers, there's a 1, 2, there's 3 tiers in Division I. We're sitting in tier 3, right? Again, you talk about budget. That would put us in tier 3. Then if we're waiting around for somebody else to make the change for us, what do we do? Spinning the wheels. At some point, at some point,
what is I want to get into something that Edwin Moore just brought up, and I see something in the comments. So St. Francis pretty much made a decision. All right, we already subsidizing our athletics department at a level, being a private institution at a level that is a burden or drag on the institution, and it's only going to get worse with this revenue sharing and so forth. So yeah, we getting this NCAA money for our parents, but it in no way does anything in terms of our deficit with our athletics. So we're not going to front. We getting off the pot. We're not pissing, so to speak. So they ain't going to Division II. They going to Division III.
Yeah.
And that was my earlier comment was about. The new environment of athletics is going to make all of us evaluate what it is we're willing to be and sacrifice, whether we want to or not. It's coming.
Fascinating times that we are living in this world of athletics. Well, every week we sit back and we kind of watch, and we watch the changes of the landscape, whether it be the changes to our athletic rosters, or whether we look at the changes to athletics. Every week there seems to be something new that pops up. So, and at some point in time, I feel like HBCUs or conferences or the athletic departments are going to have to stand and step out on their own.
Yeah.
Instead of continually waiting around to see what they allow us to do.
Well, not only that, folks, again, you're talking about the revenue sharing we get as from the NCAA with the basketball tournament and stuff. What has that done for our programs?
Nothing.
Right?
Nothing.
All the guaranteed beatdown games we pay, we get $300,000 to $500,000 for and getting 70 points rung on us on football. What has that done to help our programs get better and more competitive?
Well, that part, the schools who have used that money, and like you said, like what Troy did, the schools that have been allowed to reinvest that money. Go look at, I hate to use we had the toughest non-conference schedule, but all that money, that extra money outside of what was supposed to be picked up, went back into the general fund, the general athletic fund. It didn't go to the basketball program. It didn't go to the NIL, but there are schools, I mentioned them early, Jackson State, Grambling State, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, Southern, those schools are reinvesting that non-conference money from those, as you call them, those beatdown games. They're putting that back into their athletic men's programs, and they're sharing that revenue with the student athletes. Now, I don't know if I guess the women, I was going to mention Title IX because I would imagine if they're doing that on the men's side, they're probably doing that on the women's side as well, because you have to. And whatever the women get for their non-conference games, so I don't know about all the equity and equality that goes with that, But if we are going to step up in the SWAC and be more competitive, we got to do more. We got to do a lot more. All right. When is the Day of Giving? Isn't the Day of Giving coming up? Is it next week or is it the week after?
Yes, the Day of Giving is coming up, as well as Failure Day at the Capitol.
Is any of that happening before our next show? Our next show is April 2nd. I think the Day of the Capitol is April 4th.
Yeah, I want to see that stuff.
Anybody got on when is the Day of Giving for FAMU? Somebody in the chat room post when is the FAMU Day of Giving? This is great. I'm looking to see whether somebody posted it here. I was sitting there typing up something here. Okay, the 4th is
April 3rd.
April 3rd is the Day of Giving. Somebody said April 4th, but it's April 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the 3rd and 4th. There we go. Appreciate you guys. All right, so we'll get a chance to promote it heavy next week on next week's show. Let's see. No, that has not been discussed. Ezekiel, no. I know there is conversations that are happening, trying to make that happen. I don't know what challenges there are to doing it.
And FAMU Day at the Capitol is April 9th.
All right, following. Yeah. All right. Before we close the show, who's your Final Four? Final Four, the Sweet 16 starts tomorrow. Tomorrow and Friday, the Elite Eight, Saturday and Sunday. We'll know the Final Four by Sunday night. Who's getting into the Final Four?
I can't remember other than all my teams still in.
You got all your teams still alive?
Oh, in terms of getting to the final, I think St. John's might have messed me up in the bracket in terms of
yeah. Let's not talk about them.
The Sweet 16, but outside of that, it's not been a bunch of upsets, and I didn't expect it to be a bunch of upsets this year.
You didn't. I wish you would have told me that.
No, and I also expected the bottom half of those SEC schools to lose. The top five I thought would be fine, but the rest of them, I
bottom half got chopped, which is what I thought would happen. Yes,
ACC, I only thought one team was going to be in it. And,
that's who it is. Duke is Duke. All right. Well, I have one bracket remaining, and I've got a Florida Duke finals. So that's who
I've got Florida in almost all my brackets.
Yeah.
I don't have Duke. I have.
It'd be fascinating if
I have Houston. I have Houston in one of my brackets.
There's only been, let me see, in the past 20 or 25 years, the only time that we've had all four number one seed was 2008. This could, if the chalk kind of stays, this could be the year where we actually get all four number ones. Houston, Auburn, Duke, and Florida. That'd be a fascinating bid. I think we're going to get some great games on the Sweet 16 I mean, because you got all elite level teams, 12 of the top 16 teams, according to Ken Palm, or something to that number.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got good teams, but yeah, as long as Florida do get to the Final Four, I'm good. I could whatever else will be good. That's kind of what I'm on.
Yeah, the women's tournament. Feel really bad about what happened with Juju. Of course, but that's it happens. Same thing on the women's, but the women's are more traditional like this anyway. The top seeds usually advance to the Elite Eight, Final Four. I fully expect the South Carolinas,
I want to see my Notre Dame. I want to see Notre Dame.
Southern Cal is in trouble now, but UCLA, UConn,
yeah. And you know what they're doing on the women's bracket? Since Tim, you got us talking about the women's tournament. Unlike the men's regionals are in 4 different locations, right?
Right.
They're only doing 2 locations,
right?
Birmingham and Spokane, Washington,
right?
And I'm like, that's fascinating. So it's like you've got 2 regions and you're splitting them up. So in Birmingham, you basically got 4 days of action. You got 2 semifinals on Friday, 2 on Saturday. Then you do, the champions or the regional final games, as well. And that's pretty fascinating. Now, the other thing I noticed, the start times of the games on Friday are like early afternoon, like 2:30 in the afternoon, like 2:35. And then the West Coast games get a chance to start at like 7 and 10, which out on the West Coast is like 4 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. As long as I see the Lady Irish, I see the Coach Noel Ivy, and they got that's. I'm always when Notre Dame has a good team. That's the women's team I'm rooting for. So we'll see. As long as they don't have to run into. I don't know if South Carolina is the buzzsaw that people think they are. We'll see.
Well, it ain't so much the buzzsaw. It's the coach. That championship pedigree, man. She know how to win. She know how to win ugly.
She has figured something out. She's figured something out, and she goes out and recruits the girls who can run her system the way she wants it. And because I don't think this year's team has anybody on it that is considered like a national player of the year or even a first team All-American, from what I saw. But she's it. She got a good team, and I mean she got talent, obviously, but be interesting to watch. So a lot of good basketball this weekend. So hopefully you get a chance to watch. I'm not doing any bracket contests, no Survivor. I got beaten up in that early, and so I'm just watching games, and maybe I'll sprinkle a little something here and there. I will tell you my best bets though is Kentucky over Tennessee, and who's the other one? I actually think watch out for Ole Miss. Watch out for Ole Miss. This dark horse, Ole Miss. That coach they got at Ole Miss. So we'll see. All right. That's going to do it for tonight's show. Hold on a second, Kelvin. Go ahead and give a final word or final thought here, Kelvin, so I can finish typing something up on this band.
Well, I do want to say we've got a presidential search that I think is coming to a close. I believe on April 1st, and I noticed that the committee has kind of said they're going to keep the names private. If I read into that, it seems as if if the fits is on, folks kind of know whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I would probably guess that it'll probably be announced in May once graduation happened and everybody's gone. and we'll see, you know, what it's going to look like. But that is something to keep an eye on.
Okay. Well, fascinating stuff. Again, make sure that you guys are checked in, following our friends for the latest news on the portal. Make sure you're following at Live for Hoops. Make sure you're following Liv. She's doing a great job of keeping track of portal jumps in and maybe out. Also, making sure you're following Gerald at 3PG for the latest from FAMU's scrimmage tomorrow on, I don't even know what time they're doing it, but I'm sure he'll have it covered. Don't forget the Thanksgiving. You can always support the Fang Exchange. FangExchange.com, FAMU's first NIL collective. Always taking on new members, and always want to encourage you guys, if you can, be a part of the Rattler Boosters. You know, we all have to find a way to give and be supportive of the Boosters, which is the official arm that supports FAMU athletic programs and the athletic department. That's what the job of the Boosters is. So there you go. If you got any comments, you can send your comments to us, ongstrikezone@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. You know, you can send us a note. Obviously, you can follow us on X. You see the information there. But if you got an email you want to send us, you got a show idea, you got an interview that you'd like for us to hunt down, send us your thoughts, ongstrikezone@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Or, hey, even if you're one of those parents, NIL agent, or maybe someone who's just been giving advice to a student athlete regarding the transfer portal and moving, I'd love to hear from you. Send us an email. I'm curious to hear the kind of advice that you're giving, the kind of advice they're receiving, and you know, how it works out. All right. That's going to do it for tonight's show. Make sure to support the BCSN Pod Zone. You can download our show and any of the shows that are part of the Black College Sports Network. Favorite podcast platforms: Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple and Google Podcast, iHeartRadio. That's BCSN Pod Zone. Well, for Marcus Green, who couldn't be here, hopefully we'll find him and hunt him down, and maybe we'll have him next week. We'll see. We'll see. We will have some guests on next week. We'll work on getting some guests. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a big name guest. We'll wait to see. But for Kelvin Rozier, I'm Bryan Fulford. I want to thank you guys for watching the show. Have a great week. Keep those things up and make sure to strike again. And have a great week, Rattlers. And we will see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Peace out.